This is the tutorial for Concept 19 Skill 5, Computing with Customary Measures. And so what I've done here for you is I've come up with the conversion factors for length, weight, and capacity, and we're going to use some of those to help us convert like 27 inches into feet and inches. And so what we first need to know is the conversion factor when we're going from inches to feet, and we see that 12 inches equals 1 foot. And so we know 24 inches would equal 2 feet. And so if they subtracted that from 27, they ended up with 3 inches, and that's why they said 2 feet per 3 inches. Now, sometimes we could end up using the conversion factor like we did in Skill 4. So if I did this, I had 27 inches, and I wanted to go to feet, I would multiply by the conversion factor. Now I want to cancel out inches, so I'm going to put the 12 inches on the bottom and the 1 foot on top, and you see I'm dividing. And so another way to think about it is just divide 12 into 27. You see 12 goes into 27 2 times, and when I go ahead and do that subtraction, I've got 3 left over. So just another way to do the same problem. 2 feet and 3 inches are left over, so the same answer we have here. So I can do the same thing for 2 gallons to 1 quart, and so it's 2 gallons and 1 quart here, and we want to find out how many quarts that is. So if I start with 2 gallons, and don't worry about the quart, we'll add this on afterwards. Let's just change the 2 gallons to quarts to start with. We know that there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon, so I'm going to write 2 gallons over 1, and I'm multiplying. Now I want to cancel out gallons, so I'm going to put gallons on the bottom and quarts on top. So you see how we're going from a big unit to a smaller unit. I want to end up multiplying, and that's what I'm going to end up doing here, because the gallons are going to cancel, and that leaves me with 8 quarts. But I also have that 1 extra quart right here, so I'm going to end up having to add on that 1 quart, and that's why they end up with 9 quarts. And that's the same answer we have right here. And suppose you have, or you need 4 feet 5 inches of ribbon to complete an art project, and you have 2 feet 10 inches of ribbon. So how much more ribbon do you need to complete the project? And so what we're doing is subtracting. Now, notice that when we subtract, we can't subtract the 10 inches from 5 inches because we end up having a negative number, and we don't want to do that. So the bigger number always has to go on top when we're subtracting, otherwise we can't do the subtraction correctly. So what we want to do is we're going to end up having to borrow. And so what they did is they borrowed from the 4, and they made that a 3, and then they added 12 inches to the 5 inches here. And so that's where they came up with the 17 inches. So 3 feet 17 inches is the same as 4 feet 5 inches. So we just added 12 inches to the 5 inches, and now we can go ahead and do the subtraction. So they did it. 17 inches minus 10 inches gives me 7 inches. And then 3 feet minus 2 feet gives me 1 foot. So 1 foot, 7 inches. So let's practice a few more problems like that. And here's another one. 2 yards, 2 feet to how many feet? Well, let's start with the 2 yards. And so I've got 2 yards over 1, and I'm going to multiply by the conversion factors. The conversion factors here, 1 yard equals 3 feet. So I'm going to put the 1 yard on the bottom, 3 feet on top, because I want to cancel out yards. And so when I go ahead and do that, I multiply and I get 6 feet. But I have to also carry on this 2 extra feet. And so when I do that, I end up with 8 feet. And that would be my answer. So same sort of thing on this next one, 6.5 quarts. So how many gallons and quarts is that? So let's start with that 6 1/2. And that's over 1, and these are quarts. And I want to find out how many gallons and quarts that is. So I'm going to multiply by, I want to cancel out quarts, and I want to have just gallons. So I'm going to put 4 quarts per 1 gallon. So I need to do some division. I need to divide 4 into 6 1/2. So when I go ahead and do that, I'm going to change that 6 1/2 to 6.5 for now. 4 goes into 6, we have 1 time, with 2 left over, and then I have that decimal point. So I know it's 1, and so notice what's left over. This is kind of like writing a remainder, so I don't really have to go any further. So I know I have 1 gallon in there, so 1 gallon. Now how many quarts are left over? Right here. this is the number of quarts left over. These are the quarts remaining. That's where they get the word remainder from. So we have some remaining, and that's what's left over. So 1 gallon, 2.5 quarts. That's what they're looking for there. So looking at our next one, we had 6 pounds, 12 ounces, and what we want it to go to was, let's see, we want to add on 3 pounds, 8 ounces. So let's take a look at our first one here. So we've got, when we go ahead and add these together, we end up with 12 plus 8 gives me something more than a pound. Because over here you see 16 ounces equals 1 pound. So let's go ahead and do this work here. So we get 20 ounces, and then we add this up and we have 9 pounds. Well, when we go ahead and do some division here to find out how many pounds this goes in here, we can go ahead and set that up. So 20 ounces over 1 times by the conversion factor is 16 ounces per pound. So I'm seeing how many times 16 goes into 20. So I see that goes in there 1 time with 4 ounces left over. So 1 pound and then 4 ounces. 4 ounces because when I did 16 into 20, it goes 1 time with the remainder of 4. So that's where I'm getting that 4 ounces left over. But I also have this 9 pounds that I'm adding on to this as well. And so our answer is going to end up being 10 pounds, 4 ounces. That's what they ended up wanting here. So those are the types of problems that you're going to end up seeing on that concept and skill. Good luck.